right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending where you are and when you're watching this. My name is Mark Bowers. I am the Executive Director and Founder of the Professional Development Consortium of Hampton Roads. We exist to provide affordable, intimate, and accessible education to folks who run membership associations. So professional societies, sorority orders, fraternal orders, civic leagues, softball coaches, the league of being left-handed in the right-handers world. Everybody's welcome. Just talk about management and leadership skills necessary to run that association, run that membership association in your spare time after your day job is complete for the day. So this is who we are. This is what we're all about. Today, I'm pleased to introduce Bill Dittmar, who's been a friend of mine for a dozen years, and he's been doing marketing in the Hampton Roads area, print and digital, for about 3 times that's 30 odd years. Starting to call you out on that. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we connect with others with very specific messaging. So with that, I'm going to shut the heck up and turn this over to my friend Bill.
All right. Thank you, Mark. So small group, which is just fine. We'll be able to really engage and collaborate. Vern, good to see you again. How you doing?
Hey, Bill.
And I have 3 new friends here. We're going to spend basically the next hour looking at ways that you can work on your messaging for your associations or your groups and how to really target that. The end takeaway, though, is something that Mark will share. It's actually a pretty extensive marketing plan build that we'll be sending to you, that we're only going to go over a bit, 2 parts of that. But then you will be, challenged, tasked, or it's your homework to look at that and see if you want to take on that challenge to build out the whole thing, or just take parts of it that maybe you feel would be most important for your organizations. A little bit about my background real quick is, as Mark said, in Hampton Roads for 30 something plus years. Went to college at Christopher Newport in Newport News. Played soccer there, then started a business, started a magazine. Had no right to do that, no business doing it because I had no money. But I'm an Irishman, I'm kind of stubborn, and I just said, we'll do it. I won't fail. And we did that for 20 years, my wife and I. I met her actually 4 months after I started the magazine. So the poor lady didn't know what she was getting. She got an entrepreneur with no money, a lot of ideas, and someone that's really into soccer. I also coach a boys high school team here. We just finished our 38th year at Denby High School, and I was a Major League Soccer referee for 20 of those years. And now, right after our call today, I'm running over to Christopher Newport, and I'm critiquing, assessing, coaching, mentoring a referee that's trying to get to Major League. So that's a bit about me. What I'm passionate about is really helping others be empowered to be effective and help others. Really, my why is I bring passion and clarity, so together we kick it in. A little soccer metaphor at the back side of that, but the first part is really bringing passion and clarity to things I've learned over the years and sharing with people like y'all. What we're going to do is got a kind of simple slide deck, small group, want it to be very open. You can keep your mics muted, you can take them off mute, you can use the, whatever, but let's make it fun and do it together. So with a thumbs up with those, if we're ready to roll, I got Jeanette. All right, Vanita, I see you doing it behind your picture there, so thanks. There we go. She's with us. All right, so Mark, I did move my screen, so we're going to try that share and just see if we can still nail that same spot we were trying to share with.
Way to build anticipation.
Yes. Portion of screen. Let's see if it does it. We're pretty close, Mark. All right. So everybody's seeing my screen. It should say, what are the 2 most, right? So let me just find you guys again, because one of the things that happens when you share the screen is you all go away. So basically, tonight, I believe this is true. I hope I'll get a thumbs up from you, but I believe truly the 2 most important factors and your association success revolve around the leadership and your leadership, and also the marketing. The marketing is the part that we're going to focus on tonight, but leadership is always critical with regards to, any organization's success. So we've all probably heard this. It's been all over the internet. And I thought it was a really cool story, and it's about the wolf pack. And it talks about how, the culture of the wolf pack and how they lead, and the strongest and the weakest and all that kind of stuff. And I used to, use this in some starts of talks. And then my friend Mark there just showed me that this actually is not true. I also recently read a book about culture and the wolf pack, and it did say this isn't totally accurate. So there's two reasons why I kept it in here. Number one, so the front of the pack, it is led by the strongest, and they do go single file, and one will work its way through and kind of put in all the hard work. And when that wolf gets tired, he or she will retire back and the next one will take over. There is an alpha male, and an alpha female, and the rest of the pack, there's a pecking order. So that's all true about any of our organizations, right? But the reason I also kept this in here is, even though this is circulated around the internet for years, it's actually been proven that it's not exactly true, but so many people believe it's true. And so the correlation to that and your message and your marketing is, perception is reality a lot of times. And so it's very important that we understand what our members have, the perceptions of our members or prospective members, and make sure those are accurate. And if they're not, we have to work and make sure that we are building messaging that portrays what we accurately are, deliver, and why they want to be with us. So I felt it was still worth keeping in here, even though it's not 100% true anymore, right? The next part that I wanted to talk about was basically how we have the marketing process. So I said there's two most important things: leadership and marketing. Marketing is just quite misunderstood, I find, over the years. Marketing is not just advertising. People tend to think that's what marketing is, but marketing is that whole process from the beginning of a product idea all the way through execution of the product, distribution, sales, and then it even circles back around where you start to, change things, repackage things, the product life cycle. So, we certainly are not going to delve into all those parts of marketing tonight, but I think it's really important anytime we throw around that word marketing, that we do have a full understanding that it's this whole process, and it's a cyclical process that's important. The part we're going to focus on is really the messaging and your value or your brand. So that's where we're going to go from there. If at any time, of course, anybody has a question or a comment, you can just, unmute and just pop on in. I just moved you so I don't have to look to my left screen, so I got you on top of my stuff now. So basically from here, who would you say, and I need someone to help me with this, but who would you say are the two most important target audiences for a nonprofit organization or an organization like yours? Who are our two most important target audiences? Pete?
I'd say it's our customers, but it's also our internal customers, which are all of our teams and employees.
All right. All right. Anyone else have a question? Not a question, a comment on that?
Our organization targets college graduates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course you want to get your messages out to branch members.
Yep.
Sorry, Bill, I misunderstood. I thought you were asking for not our actual clients in our audience. I thought you were talking about for who we're working with directly.
Yep, absolutely. And I'd like to take this moment to actually, Pete, can you give me a minute on, give us a minute or so on who you are and what you're with, who you're with.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'll be able to do it in less than a minute. We work in lead generation. We're a publisher of leads that focus on home services, including solar, roofing, windows, siding, and doors. So we work with the manufacturers as well as the contractors on a national scale to provide them with leads through paid advertisements. It's exclusive lead generation for lead demands.
Okay. And Jeanette, can you tell us?
I'm currently the president of the Virginia Beach branch of the American Association of University Women. And, you know, the national office puts down the guidelines for what we focus on during our active part of the year. And we continually try to recruit members, you know, to stay strong and active.
Okay. Vanita, would you do the same, please?
As I said, I'm Vanita Williams. I am not necessarily part of a nonprofit outside of ISPI here in Virginia. Outside of that, I am a part of a sorority, so I'm always involved in something. And to answer your question here, I would say it would be your internal and external stakeholders.
Yep. Thank you. What sorority? Which one?
Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Alpha Kappa Alpha. All right. And Bernd?
Sure. Well, first of all, hello, everyone. That obviously includes Mark.
Everyone and Mark.
Everyone and Mark, exactly. No, he deserves a special mention here. Mark's been great. Well, I know Mark now for several years, but the way we met is through ISBI, for example, and a few other things. But what I do is I'm a business coach. I'm a strategic consultant with my clients. I don't lead an association. I don't even work with associations right now, but in a greater sense, organizations I'm working with, they can always benefit from the latest marketing approaches, you know, almost revelations, what's out there. Marketing is moving so fast, you know, technology driven or not, but there's always something new about this one. So whatever I attend and whatever I learn, I pass on to my clients. So there's definitely a value in all of this.
Absolutely. And Mark, does everybody know you? You're muted.
I got this little handy keyboard to help me not be muted. Doesn't work. Yeah, I think everybody, you know, here knows me or has certainly gotten plenty of emails from me, you know, if nothing else. Real fast, 20 years in the Navy, 10 years as a Beltway bandit up in the DC area, and then 12 years doing various consulting work, mostly in the nonprofit arena. And then, of course, 5 years ago, founded with some help the Professional Development Consortium of Hampton Roads. And I already told you about that. So that's me. Excellent.
All right. So now that I, you know, kind of know the lay of the land and who we have here, I'm going to kind of go off script a bit. There's a couple things that we had directly in here targeted to associations, and we're still going to hit that because it's really relevant to, like Bernd said, anything that you can learn in the marketing realm can be applied to any of the different constituents that we all deal with. So, but I'm gonna kind of tweak us and go a little bit differently. I do want to tell you one other thing about me. Our company is called Executive Fusion. My wife and I, 20 years ago or 10 years ago, we decided we were tired of publishing the magazine. It wasn't that we didn't want to keep publishing the magazine, but we were tired of having deadlines all the time. And we were tired of having a bunch of employees. We wanted a different lifestyle where we could really have more time to ourselves and to do things. So we transitioned kind of similar to Bernd, where we do a lot of coaching, business coaching, one-on-one. And we do some brand development for certain customers. We have a 3D avatar-based world. That's what's behind me. actually. That's my training world. But most recently, I spend a lot of time with a group called the Honor Foundation, and it's a foundation that helps special operators transition from the military to the business world. So we do a lot of, it's a 3-month course, and I teach several of the classes, and we do one-on-one coaching with them. So I think that's a different aspect of me, just to throw in there. So where I was originally going with this question was, what are the 2 most important groups? So I was thinking about a membership organization. And so for a membership organization, there's really kind of 3 major constituencies. There's your members, right? Your new members, your prospects. There's your current members. And then the third one is really going to be like your sponsors, those that help support, because most nonprofits need to be getting money from other outside organizations or through venues. So we were mostly going to focus on just these 2 groups, new members and prospective members and current members. I think we can still go along those lines and still bring value to all of you, even though we have different kind of constituencies or reasons why we're here. But that's going to be kind of our main target market. When I had my magazine, I always tried to keep this in mind. My phrase was, new advertisers are silver, but my old advertisers are gold. And what I realized, and I saw it in a lot of the companies, and if you guys have Cox Communications in your market, I think there's a great example of this. They're always giving new stuff away or special deals to new people. But what did they do for the people that have been with them for 20 years? And that's one of the reasons I left them, because I got so tired of that, because they, always were promoting stuff for new people, but never taking care of the gold. So I think this concept, once again, it goes across any of the realms that we're in, is, we really need to look at those that have engaged with us, those that have invested with us, and those current members, and always be in trying to get them more engaged and make sure we're listening to them and we're hearing what values they're getting from what we bring and what they want. And then don't get so wrapped up in just bringing in new customers that you forget about the wisdom and the value of the old. So that's how I looked at it in our magazine days is, I really actually treated my gold customers, my current customers, they were my priority. And, I always tried to bring in some new, but it was more about retaining the old. And I'm very proud over the 20 years we did that. We actually had an 85% retention from year to year client after another. We also sold exclusively. So I had Old Point Bank in there for 20 years. I had Centera in there for 20 years. And I turned away many banks because of this concept of gold and silver. So as it relates to all of our worlds, you need to mine for both, right? But you need to make sure one doesn't overtake the other. And I think the other comment that goes here is, this is the important part, the messaging is different for each. And that's what we're really going to work on, is crafting messaging that can be for any of these 2 or 3 groups. Anybody have a comment or a question on that? Does it make sense?
Well, I think it makes sense. And you're right. This, I think, this approach is, broadly applicable. New advertisers, old advertisers, new folks we're going to take care of, the folks we're already taking care of. So yeah. So everybody, multiple bonus points for this one.
All right. So this is kind of our mantra for today, right? Is your message is going to equal your success. That's going to be really where our focus is. Kind of a branding diagram here. Let me slide this down a little bit. So if you start up at the pink at the top, right? And once again, this can be applied through the whole process, similar to that marketing process. This is the process of partially building your brand. You got to listen to who either your gold or silver are, and really listen and start to see, where do we fill in that gap, right? And that's the deciding on the themes and topics. And then you start to create content that is specifically targeted to those people. I see Pete shaking his head here and there. being in the marketing world and in the targeting world, he's certainly, lead generation is a very important part of this. You got to do all this homework before you can actually provide your clients with the right people. And then, it's the create, the promote. Then it's always constantly changing. Going back to Bernd's original comment, he's been around. I know a lot about his background. He was a pretty high corporate leader, very high strategic thinker, with a pretty good sized company. And, he's been through this in various ways. He now, helps people look at their companies and their businesses from a micro and macro perspective. So I know this makes sense across the board with all of us.
Except for the moments when the German engineers screwed everything up.
Yes, I didn't say the company, I didn't say they were German, but they needed some Irishmen in there with a couple pints and we would have gotten it straight.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the mix, Bernd. It's the Irish and the Germans together.
Well, I guess so, yeah.
So let's just have a little bit of fun for a few minutes. I call it logo fun, right? So these are all well-known brands that we've all seen, right? But there's a couple things in here. Maybe you haven't seen the Bronx Zoo. But the reason I throw this up there is, think about the amount of time and money and thought that went into these logo designs, several of which look really, really simple. But there's so much complexity in there. So, by show of hands, how many people have before seen that little arrow that's in the FedEx logo? All right. So Jeanette, and I can't see Vanita, but do you see it now? Do you see between the E and the X, see the arrow? I don't know if you can see my mouse, right? In this Toblerone logo, there's a bear in there, but it's so subtle. And I know I don't want to try to zoom it in, but, look that up and check it out. My most favorite one on here is this Bronx Zoo. What do you see? Do you see the animals or do you see the skyline of New York or the Bronx? So, the main point, Amazon, it's just got that fun font. It's got that smile face, the Nike swoosh. We've all known about that for years. Uber is simple, but in a sense, it's simple and elegant because you remember it. It's so simple. And then the Wendy's one there is just about the rebranding, when they went through a whole rebranding. And the Hershey's Kisses, I just happen to like that one. I don't know why that one's there, but I put it there because I like it. I think it's because the kisses are kissing. That's the way I see it, but maybe you see something else. Main takeaway, right, is that every piece of our messaging has to be given a lot of thought. And that thought has to be first and foremost targeted or thought about. It's targeted to our target market. And I like to, I have a little formula that I use when I'm building an ad, I'm building a website, I'm building a message. It's 4 words. You might want to write this down. It's basically, you have to cover 4 things to have a strong creative message. The first is awareness. So if you just think of this in the context of a headline or of an ad, you're going to have a headline right there, right? And that headline typically is creating awareness that there's a solution or there's something we want you or you should look into. But then the next most important part of any message, I call it P&P. It's pain and pleasure. So people buy most things emotionally. We like to think we buy everything intellectually, but we actually buy most things and make most purchase decisions emotionally. That new car smell, that sprayed in smell to that car, is playing off of our emotions, the color of the car, right? The 0 to 60 in 1.2 seconds. When do we really need that, right? But we buy emotionally. So Mark needs it. I know Mark needs it. I've seen him drive, but we buy emotionally. So here's where pain and pleasure comes in. Whenever you're crafting a message, think about the pains that your product, service, organization is going to help people avoid or solve, or the pleasures that they're going to get by being part of this. So I kind of attack everything I do in marketing, branding, and messaging with this pain and pleasure concept. All right. Then after you get them to at least catch them with 1, 2, or 3 of these pains or pleasures, the next most important part of that message is credibility. Right. And the credibility part is, sometimes it's done with a testimonial. Sometimes it's done with a little thing on your logo that says since 1991, right? To whatever you're doing. But there's a play towards credibility that needs to be in that message. And then the final part of the message is a call to action. And that call to action isn't always telling them to buy, but it's really guiding them to the next step. Whatever that next step is, that's what's very important, that you tell them what that is. There's no sense bringing them 3/4 of the way and then not helping them make that next step. So just in recap, right? It's an awareness. Sometimes the awareness is done by a graphic, by a picture, right? Or sometimes by a headline. But then if it's not in the headline, the pain and pleasure, if it's not in the headline, it needs to be in the body text, right? But it needs to be like the subtext, the subhead. It's not buried in a big paragraph. It may be bullet points. And then some kind of credibility. So once they see that, and then call to action. The last thing I'd like to share about that is this concept of a hierarchy, right? So the hierarchy means you want to lead the person through the website, through the message, through the press release, whatever, knowing that you got to catch their attention, then you got to get them engaged, and then you can give them the details. You can look at so many ads. The best TV commercials are kind of simple. They have one objective. And the best ads really typically have one objective, and they take care of all 4 of those. So once again, I'd like to open that up, and I don't think it's rocket science, but it's been a formula that has been really, really helpful for me and our clients over the years, is to always take on everything that we do with those 4 perspectives. So any comments or thoughts on that?
Well, maybe I'm starting out here. Bill, when you talk about messaging, do you mean a message simply through the logo, through visuals, or are you talking about messaging also, through words, written words, spoken words? What's your understanding there?
Yep, excellent. So the logos, I'm kind of beyond the logos. We need to, and companies need to invest in the process that mainly the logo needs a couple other parts to it. It needs like clarity. It needs something that people can remember. With the whole science of logos, you got the science of color. Think of the Hallmark logo. They purposely use purple, kind of a deep purple. And there's a whole science behind all the different colors that you actually use in creating a logo. So typically the purple represents royalty. It represents trust, credibility. Most of the time when you see food, they usually want you to use things like reds and oranges and yellows. If you think about most of the signs like Hardee's and Wendy's and McDonald's, and partially because those colors make people think of warmth. You use a green or a blue in a food logo, you're kind of saying it's like ice cream. It's cold, So for warm food, so just for the logo part, Bernd, all of those things matter, but I don't think it's the same way that what I was talking about, because what I'm talking about is too much to get in just the logo.
Right.
Yeah. So now for the purposes of my 4-way, tests or whatever you want to call it, I'm really thinking about an ad. I'm thinking about an announcement for people, for those that are running an association. How do you get people to come to this event? How do you get people to come for Vanita with one of her sorority functions? This is where I'm saying you need to make sure all the messaging covers those 4 points. And whether it's on a website, it's a Evite reminder through, email, whether it's a text, you got to put this same test to all of them. Does that answer that, Bernd?
It does. Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Pete, you're in the business. You have any comments or thoughts on this?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I think that, I mean, you hit on everything. It's good to look at each of those steps that you mentioned and take a more holistic approach, because you can catch somebody's attention, but if you don't have a good message or you're not delivering good content, that will only go so far. And it's the same with going all the way through that process. And then if you don't have a compelling call to action, again, all the work you've done doesn't really equate to gaining those customers and, you know, mining that silver and gold. So I couldn't agree more, and it's just great to see what you're talking about is of course just an exclamation point on all that we do. And it's not just about lead generation and marketing or advertising digitally for us. It's, you know, this applies to everything and anything that you want to go after.
Yeah. My goal in this truly is to simplify things, right? I told you my why, to bring passion and clarity. My goal is always with things like this to simplify. And so I can think about each one of you, Bernd, for example, when you are coaching some of your clients, putting their messaging to this test, I think would provide great value to them. They tell you about some event, some client event they're going to do, or some product launch they're going to do. And, just asking and kind of going through this with them, saying, let's put this to a little test. Is the pains or pleasures, are they clear? Do you have anything in this messaging that is building upon the credibility of the company? What are you asking them to do next? So for you, I see it that way. For Vanita, with what I just know a little bit, to me, I use that example of building an event or helping the sorority, or the sorority getting their messaging out to get new members. Jeanette, same thing with you. You're focused on getting people to be involved and then stay involved. And so, can you see where this would apply to you, Jeanette?
I think part of the problem that we have is, where do we go to apply it? How do we, do we get the newspaper to come and do an article on some event that we're doing, or how to get the message out beyond just within our own group to engage, potential new members?
Yep. So hold that thought and hold me to that.
Okay.
As we go through the next part, I think I'm going to be able to help you with regards to that.
Okay.
Vanita, any comments or?
I'm thinking outside of sorority, because I do workshops for on my side of things, from my point of view.
Yeah.
Just getting people involved. Like, I do the flyers for them normally. So I can see this being put towards how I create that flyer to market it to mostly, for right now, women, and it's generally dealing with health issues. So putting it out there in that manner, I can see how it can bring value to that.
Okay, excellent. We were going to do this as a breakout. I think I'm just going to show it to you, but we're going to move past this. So part of this whole discussion is, to doing a deep dive within your organizations, your own group, and starting to ask questions like this. Why is member retention important? Why do we have attrition? What's causing that? How do we keep people? Going back to that gold and silver concept, right? And then the silver part with the member recruiting. I mean, the obvious answers are obviously, we need members for our organization or our association to continue. But what type of members do we need? Who do we target market? Back to Jeanette's question, How do we know to target market? Well, you can't answer that question until you've done a deep dive into what people want and where are those people, or where might we find those people. You know, if you're a high-end lawn service company, you know, there's no reason to be sending out through direct mail your flyer to a bunch of apartments, you know, because it's not your target market. So take that simple example and apply that to our groups. It all starts with this deep dive. This document that Mark's going to give you, it's not mine. It's something I found years ago. And I don't even know if they're still in business, to be honest with you, but I really thought they did a great job. It's 35 pages, and it really takes you through multiple steps of how you start this process and how you take it all the way through. We're going to focus on just 2 of those steps, but you will have this resource once we're done. And that's the one that I shared that, you know, I think we could all either do the whole thing or do parts of it, and it would help us. So the main part that we're going to jump into is this brand value part. And it's obviously number 3. So there's a couple other parts to this particular document. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to pull something up on my screen and you tell me if you're seeing it. Are you seeing goals and objectives? All right,
Yeah.
Cool. So this is the full document that we're going to send you. Right. And I showed you the cover. I'm just giving you just a bit. So it starts with goals and objectives. Where are we going? This is part of that deep dive, right? And there's some tools in here of how to approach that. Then the target, who must we reach? To your comment, Jeanette, you know, going through this and actually targeting and laying it out who they are is very important. And, you know, you're going to do this with your teams. And then you're actually going to build, let me see if I can make this smaller so you can see more of it. I'll make this bigger. Maybe that will work. So, you know, the next step is this target ranking, and you actually build, you know, kind of a customer profile like this. You know, age, name, what they do, blah, blah, blah. This is all, you know, great news to Pete Sears. He loves this stuff because, you know, this is really what lead generation is a lot about, is it's getting people that fit these target profiles. So this document gives you, you know, kind of a nice example of how to build it, a template to build it. And then this is where we're starting. This is what I wanted to at least get you through today, was this concept of brand value. And what brand value really has a lot to do with is how do you get people to take action, to be engaged. So I'm going to put that away, but hopefully that was helpful so that you kind of see where I'm going and where I'm coming from. And you'll have that tool. All right, so brand value here. That's close enough. What I wanted to do was all of us together, you know, let's brainstorm and let's in the sense of this was built for basically Jennifer's type of group. Let's help her do that. All right. Let's help her fill this out. So Jennifer, I said Jennifer, I'm sorry, Jeanette. If you would just share a little bit more about your organization, so then we can kind of help you come up with what we think your members would see as value.
We're an organization of university, you know, it's American Association of University Women. So they're at least have their associate's degree and then some. And we have a lot of political action as far as trying to get equal rights, equal pay, paid sick leave, getting people signed up to vote, just making community awareness, and then teaching STEM to younger girls, trying to get women involved with STEM careers and things like that. We usually do a scholarship, you know, 1 or 2 scholarships a year for returning women to college. And then we have to do fundraising in order to pay for all that. So.
Excellent. All right, so as a team here, let's help her out. I had no idea what her organization was, but my place saver word tends to work really well here. I think one of the first values that her organization brings is empowerment,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So that's actually there. So someone else jump in and tell me another value that her organization would provide that would be worth promoting to either prospective members or current members, or even advertisers. We'll go into that realm too.
Advocacy, would that be part?
Mhm.
Or would that fit here?
Yep, excellent. Jeanette, you have another one?
It's made education or
Yep, absolutely. I have one, affiliation. And since I got so many boxes here, I'm gonna actually say, belonging.
mhm.
I'm on a roll, so this whole side is for me, acceptance. All right, now I'm done. I can't think anymore. Who else can help me?
Is there a coaching, mentoring part in that, Jeanette?
Outside of the organization, we try to go out in the community and show either students or younger girls examples of women who are in STEM careers. So it is a little bit of coaching in a way, or
I think coaching, I'm going to put mentorship. I think.
mentoring.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going out to the community and showing what can be possible and excellent, Vanita. I just thought of another one, was basically it's resources, right? Because you're providing them resources, anything from money to support, etc. And we don't have to fill them all up, but any others that you guys think of?
I would say put in there either outreach or awareness. I mean, it's
Awareness, yeah.
a big part of what is your organization is spreading the word and letting people know what is all available through your organization. I mean, this is new. I knew that things like this exist, but I don't know specifically what those things are and how I can spread the word on your behalf, because everybody is tied into what you do in some form or another, whether it's having a daughter or having a mother or sister or aunt or grandmother. There's how many millions and millions and millions of women out there that may not be aware of your organization, where they're like, wow, that's something that I could really take advantage of, and I'd like to be involved.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that is a little bit mechanical, but I would say networking.
Networking, yes.
Oh no.
Yeah, unless you get under affiliation, but I think enough to point it out separately.
Excellent.
With the STEM building, are you building skills? Are you teaching STEM? What are you doing?
We're trying to encourage girls and women to enter the fields of STEM fields.
So in doing that, how are you promoting the STEM? How are you promoting STEM to younger people?
We would do in the past, pre-COVID, a day, say like a Saturday at a community college, bring in women engineers, scientists, chemists, just different computer science people, just all women, to encourage a group of girls to ask questions about the different fields they could pursue.
Okay, so knowledge building.
Knowledge building in a way.
I'm glad you all came, because we kicked butt on that.
Yeah.
All right.
We filled up all the boxes.
Yes.
Hey, so just to confuse Bill a little bit, I have one other idea, and I don't know if that fits on the page. If not, maybe it's not a good idea. You help me out here. And Bonita knows exactly what we're talking about here. Janet, when we talk about knowledge building or skill development, are you talking more about hard skills, or is it more about, well, some people call them soft skills? I don't like that term. More transferable skills?
It's more about encouraging women and girls to pursue something that they might not have thought about previously, or have thought that they couldn't handle, or it wasn't open to them, or they were afraid to try, or, you know, to show them that, yes, there are women in these fields. You might not see too many of them in those fields. You don't associate women necessarily, you know, with engineering and pilots and NASA and, you know, things like that. So, you know,
So you're providing information which will help them to make decisions eventually.
we just want to show women and girls that, you know, you can do these jobs even though you might not see them all the time. Yeah, breaking stereotypes and biases. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. You tried to throw me there, Bern, but I'm ready for you, man. No, excellent. So, oh, I went a little crazy, so I'll leave that the way it is right now. So what an excellent list, right? And Jeanette, you know, and for any of our organizations, this is like one of those first, after we go through those other 2 steps before this, right? Your target and your objectives or your goals, you know, this is that next step. Is these are the values, these are brand values that you want your organization to portray. And these are the same values that are going to bring new members and bring support and bring advertising dollars and others who want to really help and make this happen. So now basically what we're doing is we're breaking down our messaging and saying, all right, these are all important things that we do. So then that next step is, how do we target the right values to the right targets? All right. So that's where we're going next, is we go to the messaging, and I'll bounce back and forth to that other one. But basically the tool that we're going to use to create the messaging for each group is going to look like this. All right. So on the left side, I had pre-populated your current members and your prospects. And across the top, what you really want to do is we want to go back to that list of 13, and we want to grab 5 of them that you feel are the most important, but also the most, in this case, the ones that are going to speak the most to whichever group.
Okay.
So now that we know where we're going, we're going to ask you to do it, but then we'll help you. We're going to go back here. We're looking for 4 more. I think empowerment is got to be one of them.
Yeah. And then breaking stereotypes and biases.
Okay, so we'll do that one, and we need 3 others.
Education.
Okay.
Awareness, maybe. And I don't know, education and knowledge building might be too similar. Maybe resources.
Okay, so I love all those, but I'm going to lead you slightly different on at least one of them.
Okay.
I said people buy emotionally, right?
Yeah.
Each of the ones that we brought up are definitely important, but is there 1 or 2 in here that can elicit more of an emotional response from those that are there? Because I'd like to always have not just the ones that are the obvious ones, like empowerment's emotion. Education is more of like a resource, right? Awareness could have some emotion, but there's one particular one that I think
The outreach, is it outreach maybe, or
outreach for the ones that are trying to make this organization get stronger, and for those that you're trying to bring in, belonging.
Yeah.
Part of a community, a part of a bigger picture. I mean,
Yep.
that's huge.
Okay.
So it's not that those other ones weren't all important, but in building messaging, you know, we want to look at both like the tangible and the intangibles.
Okay.
Because the belonging is going to allow us to reach someone's heartstrings, right? Just this past weekend, we went, Heidi and I, my wife is Heidi, and we went to an event, fundraising event for the basically St. Jude Hospital. And, great organization, incredible what they do. And if you don't know, they take care of kids with cancer. And, 85% of the money goes straight to the kids and the families. And, intellectually, yeah, I want to support it, this and that. But then when you're sitting there and they have that person stand up and tell the story of their child, I mean, that's like the same emotion of the belonging. So it's important for, an organization like yours, which has so much, the empowerment part is big. The belonging might trump several of these others in the beginning, because you want to get them involved. The emotion will get them involved. It's kind of like there's a phrase, sell today, educate tomorrow. Right. So you want to get them in and bought in, and then now you have their attention. Now you can educate them. I used to do that wrong with the magazine. I was so excited about what our magazine could do. I'd get someone that was interested to be part of it and they wanted to write a story. And then I'd tell them 10 more things why the magazine would be great for them. And in a sense, I use the phrase, a confused mind cannot buy.
Oh.
Right? So I would confuse the crap out of them because I gave them all the other things I knew that they would eventually grow to love. But, in marketing and advertising, you don't need to sell people that shouldn't be buying your product, but you do need to just sell them what they need and then educate them later. So I may have belabored that point a little bit, but, keep in mind, I love that phrase, the confused mind cannot buy. So if we try to build a message with all 12 of these, we may be on that side of confusing or too much.
I see.
So we're going to go with the ones we said. Empowerment. We're going to go with education. Belonging over here. I think I'm going to do it this way. It's going to be easier. What else?
Maybe outreach, maybe.
And I had and I'm going to go back to it so we can all kind of decide on what that. So empowerment and education. So we got two that are, I would call the intangibles, the ones that are more emotional. Education and outreach are very tangible. And let's go back to our list and pick one more. You liked breaking stereotypes.
Yeah.
You seem to
Yes.
like them. Go ahead, Pete.
I was gonna say that's for sure a heartstring emotional one, along with acceptance, I think. But I love the idea just because I've seen it so many times. My wife's a elementary 6th grade teacher, and one of the things that she tells me that she works on teaching her kids outside of the core curriculum is letting them know that they can do anything. And that's oftentimes breaking through stereotypes.
Yes.
Many people think, well, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too smart, I'm not smart enough. And it's like, women, men, all sizes, all everything. It's nice to know that you can do something that somebody might say or think that you can't do, and that's huge motivation.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we're going to do one or two of these together, but I want to show you a sample from I don't know if it's a made up company or not, but so take this one, and I'll try not to change it on you. So look at how this one built out, right? The first one they talked about was their clients. And under this concept of empowering, they came up with the statement, Turning Point gives you the tools, resources, and support you need to overcome difficult circumstances and turn your life around. So the way that would play out, Jeanette, in your world would be something like, what's the name of the association?
American Association of University Women.
Okay. And what's the acronym for that?
AAUW.
So that's also an important point. One of my biggest roles in the Honor Foundation is teaching the fellows, guys and gals, to stop talking in acronyms, right? Because we're helping them transition from the military world to the private sector, the business world. And, you know, it's like there was a movie, I don't know if it was Stripes. It had Danny DeVito, and he just got lost on base because they're telling him, yeah, make a right at the APX, go there, you know. So we're assuming here that the target group you're going to talk to is going to understand AAUW. If they don't, you don't use the acronym, or you make sure you specify what it is before you give any of the other messaging, right? So just for our purposes today, it would be something like, you know, AAUW, you know, gives you the tools, resources, and support that you need to become anything you want to be as a woman. Right?
Sure.
So, you know, that would be how that first one would be. Bettering individuals, you know, turning point services and programs empower you to become a better version of yourself. Very personally stated, right? Is yeah, we want to help everyone, but right now we're talking to just you, right? To Pete's point, you know, that statement could be changed to, you know, Turning Point provides all the knowledge and resources to help the women in your life become the best version of themselves.
Okay.
You know, and that would be targeted to a men's group.
That's true.
That would be targeted to Pete and Bernd and I and Mark, because that messaging is going to mean something when it's to us, you know. Sometimes it's done in a question, right? Sometimes these pains and pleasures are best done with a question. You know, do you know someone in your life that's not reaching their potential? You know, we can help that, you know.
Hadn't thought about that.
Do you have a daughter that seems to excel in the STEM field, but's never been given the chance to explore it?
That would be good.
Yeah. So let's take a look here. So empowerment, oops, I hate when I do that. Ta-da, cool. So let's as a group, let's try to make one for education. So we're targeting, you know, current members. In your case, we're targeting the people you're actually going to service, right? The people you're going to help. And let's make a statement about education that's nice and succinct to the point.
It depends on who you're, I mean, I guess with current members, it would be helping returning women finance their education, but through scholarship. Because it's the current members who raise the money to be able to provide the scholarships for women returning to college.
So here, it could be simply something to the effect of, you know, are you aware that AAUW provides, you know, full rides, scholarships, money, whatever, however you know, do it, to help women return to college, you know, or it might be stated, we provide financial support to allow women to return to college.
Yeah.
All right, let's play with the belonging one, because this goes back to that, you know, to me, let's say we're targeting belonging, and who we're targeting here, let's say in your deep dive, you decided that, you know, there's a group like Vanita's group, like her sorority sisters, that you'd like to target to get involved. So how would we write up a sentence or a value statement or a message for them?
I guess it's probably a group of women reaching out to another group of women with similar goals or objectives or similar interests, I guess. You'd have to find something that is part of their platform that matches what our platform would be.
You got it. So Vanita, can you help us here any?
I think I'm trying to understand the gist of the organization itself, because I've heard you say STEM.
Yeah,
I've heard you say women in universities. Are
yeah.
you referring to staff
No,
or
just women.
students?
To be a member of the organization, of the association, you have to be a college graduate at a 2-year or beyond level. And what we work to do is, change politics in a certain way. So we, do everything to support women and girls through politics, whether it's equal rights amendment, equal pay, Title IX, voting rights, trying to educate people on, trafficking so that, people are aware of what's going on in the area as far as, trafficking of women and girls and, just anything that's affects women and girls. But, we really are focused on STEM as well as a big part, trying to get women into fields that aren't typically thought of as being a woman's, that aren't, where women aren't represented as fully as we'd like them to be.
So let me paint some, I think, put some glue to that. And I'm making some assumptions, Vanita, about the sorority, just as an example, but we know it's all women, right?
Yes.
We're pretty sure that most, if not all, graduated from college or went to college.
That is correct. They had to have graduated with a 4-year degree.
Yep. So we have alignment, right, on those two.
Mm-hmm.
And then, once you would get with their leadership, it would be that digging of where do we, cross paths. Maybe it is on that women's empowerment side. Maybe it is on the political front. Maybe, and so you build the bridges there, and then you would create the statements that back that, which would be, important to Vanita's sisters. That's the message you'd be given to them, or she'd be putting on the flyer to sponsor, be part of the event that you do.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's a really key point here, is because so what we've got up on the screen right now is we do have this focus that we talked about, the gold, the current members, silver, prospects, but maybe in the bronze category or some other semi-precious metal is, and I think Bill, you mentioned before, are other stakeholders, right, or other partners. So I think where you're heading to here is building partnerships. When you're talking about the leadership level, these are organizational partnerships, and this is a message about is it in that vertical of education or belonging or whatever. But remember that this particular message about basically service to the community of interest, the one we're working on right now, seems like to a partner.
right. Yep. And so it's not super clear here because it's yellow, but this is how you build out this matrix, right? You put your top 2 key constituents here, but then another one of these might be your potential sponsors and your donors. Right?
And I know that we try to encourage, crossing over, like you mentioned, where we work with other organizations with similar goals, with like the League of Women Voters, for instance. We're both interested in getting people registered to vote and, writing to their legislators to get our interests heard. So, that's something that we might share an event with another organization that has a similar goal.
I one way to look at that is I see, and was that you, Vanita? I'll let you go. Was the concept of where do we have synergies,
Mhm.
Who do we have synergy with? What other groups and organizations do we have synergy with where we can pool our resources, have a common goal, and do more?
Mhm.
Whoever I cut off, I'm sorry.
It was me. I was thinking, and I kind of stopped. I was thinking, looking at prospective members and trying to bring them into the fold. If there are women that are already educated, then and they're looking for empowerment, then they're looking to find like-minded individuals. I don't know if that goes under belonging or under empowerment.
I think it goes under both.
Mm.
That would be a main focus. I know within my organization, the females are from different backgrounds,
Mhm.
but we all come together for the common goal of serving the community.
Mhm.
So we educate the community, we educate young people, not just, of course, in a specific realm, but in whatever that young person may be looking to do with their lives. So it's like-minded people coming together to pursue community advocacy.
Mhm.
Yep. So from my perspective and for our purpose for tonight, my main goal was to get us thinking in these terms about any particular type of messaging we do, that we don't just throw words together, but we start to put this type of thought process together. The beauty of this 35-page document is it gives you these templates where, for each one of us, I'm sure we could take this one and build it out to a part of our lives. I mean, Pete, do you have kids?
Yeah, my wife and I have a 15-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old son.
Yep. So you could almost even take this template and use it in that family sense where he's got things he wants and needs or thinks he needs, and you guys have goals and wants and needs. And then we talk about certain parts, even education and, doing chores and doing homework. And you could take the same thing, the messaging that gets your son to buy into what you guys are trying to sell is just like the messaging that we need when we're trying to run an organization or sell a product, or put on an event. So, I think the biggest takeaway from this that I hope you get is the words do matter, and they matter, and they're most effective when you take this kind of structured approach of, all right, who am I trying to reach? What are their pains and pleasures? How do I present a credible front so that they're actually going to think and potentially consider what I have to offer? And then finally, what do I want them to do? Right? When we do that and go through this process, we really enhance our ability to be more successful. And, that's what we're all seeking, right? We're all seeking to take the things that we care about and build them. So, I want to just take 5 more minutes for I want to honor everyone's time and take 5 more minutes to just have an overall, are there any more questions about this matrix? You're going to see all this in the document. But, are there any ahas, takeaways, things that you want to share as a group? And give me feedback too. Mark and I always do. He always brings me into play and do some of these things. And I love to be pretty, I don't really like to have a script. I love to do stuff like we did, is just, we have a guideline and then let's just roll with it. Let's do it together. So, give me some feedback. Bernd, anything come to mind?
Definitely, Bill. And the reason being is that I'm borderline OCD. Okay, so I guess as a German engineer, I like structure. And you know, this process here, for lack of a better term, or approach, gives this whole structure. You know, first you're looking at the values which are being provided, and then you kind of dive deeper into those values and formulate the messages around these values on the different levels. So that's always something I'm looking for. You know, I say borderline OCD because sometimes I'm being accused of being OCD. But then again, you know, just having a little bit of order in your life doesn't necessarily mean you have a medical condition.
Right.
Mhm.
No, thank you, Bernd. And you articulate that super well. It really is. It's the structure that puts thought into the pieces and then formulates the pieces around the pieces that you deemed were important. Right.
Yeah, I think it is flipping the script, kind of where you're thinking of what you're trying to achieve and not who you're trying to reach first. So it's an opposite way of thinking.
I like that too. And way too often we make too many assumptions, right? We make too many assumptions and we assume that this is the thing when I'm working with the special ops guys and stuff is, you know, they assume that everyone says a certain word and it means the same thing. And one of the things I talk about in my classes is you got to understand every time we all take in information, it gets filtered by a lot of things in our life, our background, our beliefs, etc. So it's that what we say doesn't necessarily come out the other end. The way they heard it is not what we said. I love this phrase from Dale Carnegie about making speeches. Is there's always three talks that you give. There's the one that you created, the one that they heard, right? And the one that was actually delivered, and none of them are the same, you know? So to your point there, Jeanette, is taking a different outside look and say, how do I flip the script? And how do I make sure there's clarity in my message? You know, how do I make sure there's some emotion in there? How do I make sure there's some stickiness? That stickiness has a lot to do with the emotion part, the belonging that we talked about, a sense of affiliation, the empowerment. I think a lot of times in our messaging for events and stuff, we don't even put that stuff in there.
Yeah,
but that's the stuff that will get people coming.
that's true. I see that.
All right, anyone else?
Yeah, well, I'd like to share a little something here. You know, it's feedback, but it's more for me than for Bill. So this is not the first time Bill has spoken to this subject and, you know, mentioned this template. PDCHR's second educational session, February 7th, 2018. Bill presented, you know, a version of this, you know, since refined clearly, and how we jointly built the discussion was saying, all right, we need a use case, and the use case was PDCHR and messaging to bring people in for that session on February 7th. And for me, the lesson learned is like, well, crap, how come I'm not using this regularly for my own messaging? Even though PDCHR is not a membership association, we absolutely think of ourselves as such. And, you know, nobody pays to join or anything like that, but I think of my mail list as my constituency and my quote unquote current members. So, you know, I don't know if you can possibly tell how many notes I've got on this, but yeah, you know, there's a homework assignment here that I'm happy to do again. So, Bill, thanks, you know, thanks for that, and, you know, thanks for your time. This are there other questions? You know, I kind of chimed in, and it sounded a little bit like I was trying to close it, and it's not necessarily the case. So, other thoughts, or Bill, you need to call on somebody else?
Pete, any closing comments? Any ahas? I like the word trapeze moments. Any moments where you're now going to jump off and let go? No.
There's always jumping off points, and then of course hanging on points. Hopefully we all hang on more than we jump off. No, I love the content, and the two things that I take away from this is going back to the basics. It's like when you talked about how you coached for all those years, you know, it's easy to lose sight of the simple things or the basics of what it is that we as humans are drawn towards. I mean, it's 100% true that either any of us, all of us move towards pleasure or away from pain. Some people more one than the other, or maybe it's a combination of both. And by keeping those things in mind, it really does help simplify what your message is, how you want to deliver it, and what's going to happen from that. So I love it all, and I think that the looking forward to seeing the I would say handout, but it's more than that. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to share for the bigger picture. But I've always continued to have to remind myself after 53, almost 54 years on this earth, that every time I think I have something figured out, I realize I don't have a whole lot of things figured out, and there's always room to learn and grow. So that's, you know, this is a big part of what that is.
Excellent. Well, thanks for spending the time and coming. You know, having all of our different backgrounds and perspectives added to this session. And, you know, having you with the marketing and the lead generation background, and Bernd with his background, and Bonita, et cetera, you know, that's that collaboration. And, you know, with your associations too, you know, we have this diversity in our boards, but we have to have tools that bring that out. You know, you got to empower and encourage and engage the resources you have, and these type of activities help you do it. So I think that's another takeaway of this is, you know, back to Bernd's, there's a system, there's a process, but, you know, let's put it into play. And Bonita, I'll let you close us out if you have anything else.
I enjoyed it. I'm actually sitting here trying to figure out how do I take these away and put them into the things that I am doing on my end.
Well, I think when you see the full, this full package, this essential nonprofit marketing template plan, you can take out the word nonprofit. It's really a marketing plan template. And I think a lot of that's going to come together and present itself really easy. And similar to Jeanette, that thing I told you I would answer a little bit was that process is going to also help you try to come up with places that the messaging matches your budget. Because of course, that's a big part of where do we place our messaging. I totally have always had the belief that there's no one marketing silver bullet for anything. And, you know, people think print is dead. And I don't advertise this, but I print 2 million menus a year for Hampton Roads restaurants that get direct mailed. And I print over 500,000 direct mail postcards. Now, that once again is not the silver bullet, but it's not dead. It's a marketing tool that works in the right environment with the right message. Now you go to Pete's world and we have lead generation. We have the whole internet, the different social medias, you know, all this kind of depends on where your budgets fall, where your target markets are, and how can you create that mix, that marketing mix, which is a very key important thing, that marketing mix of free and paid things that actually target the right person.
Yeah.
So, you know, much deeper conversation, but this template is a fantastic start.
Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to actually go and go coach a referee.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
And Mark, be in touch. Bernd, good to see you. Bonita, pleasure.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Nobody go away yet. Well, Bill, you can go away. Thanks again, Bill. It was wonderful. We should do this more often than every 5 years.
All right. See ya.
Right.
When you do your homework, then I'll start doing it more often.
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Into the chat box, a bunch of stuff. So what I'd like you guys are still here to do is, first thing, just click on the 1 minute survey link. Just click on it. Don't have to take the survey right now, but just just leave it open there. So it's just survey.pdchr.org. That just helps us, shape the future. It's too hard shaping the past. So we got 2 more events I wanted to throw up there. Well, that's disgusting. I wanted to put in front of you tomorrow morning. If you're up and about and have nothing better to do, one of my new favorite people, Donna Norman, is going to be talking about leveraging your points of power. This is a session that PDCHR we're doing with another membership association. It's in person. It's like all morning long. Donna's section starts at, I believe, 9 or so. But if you want to look a little bit more at that, just go ahead and click on the Eventbrite link, and that's got all the details. And then finally, our next regular session like this, our monthly session, will be on Wednesday, Wednesday, July 17th, shifting back to noon for the next quarter. So 3 strategies for high impact leadership a workshop that's online, it's free, and presented by Donna Domenico, who's actually been with PDCHR for about a year now. She joined the board. She gets some amazing insights. Used to be at Amtrak in the project management leadership arena. So I'm really looking forward to that. So go ahead and you click on that link and just have it open and take for action or inaction later. That's all we've got, subject to any other questions or virtual handshakes to each other, whatever works for you. But if that's it, it is. So Baron, Vanita, Jessica, Jennifer, Jeanette, hey, you with the J.
Yeah.
Wish you've been here before.
Yes.
So any thoughts, any questions about this or PDCHR, or just time to go?
Great. Very helpful. Thank you.
All right. Good seeing you again.
I appreciate it, Bill. As always, it was great.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I enjoyed it.
Good to sort of see you again.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Again, thanks so much, and hope to see you. If not tomorrow, then at least next month. Tell your friends.
Mark.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.